So, welcome to the first episode of Roll Talk. It's going to be a weekly YouTube series where ultimately we're going to be talking about everything, the positive innovations within the industry and everything in between. So today we have the awesome JP. Now JP is a solid SEO, someone I've known for years personally, and lately you've been doing some pretty cool stuff with AI. From the conversations we've had and from what I'm seeing all over LinkedIn. So yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit more about that, mate. But first I'll let you introduce yourself, and I think you'll do it far better justice. So yeah.
Nice one, mate. Yeah, my name's JP. Been an SEO a while now. I currently work as a director for an e-commerce SEO agency. We focus mainly on technical SEO, but we do more like blended search. So we do PPC and organic, and we try and make it work. And it's sort of like our process. But yeah, sort of my journey has just been in SEO. I started as a writer, funnily enough, literally writing content and copywriting content. And but I've always loved technology. Like, so, we were speaking about this earlier. It's kind of like, how do people get into SEO? Everyone has a different journey. And I think my journey is that I was doing writing, but sort of for like a technical type of job or whatever. And my natural curiosity pushed me into the technical side. So I realized that I could just like fully exploit it. So the moment that I was able to lean more into technical workflows, I just went that way. And then everything else, any of the writing, the link building and all that stuff, didn't really become my focus. But yeah, I've had a few positions. I was a writer, I was a link building manager, I've been a link builder, I've been an SEO manager, and now a director. So it's been a really cool journey. But my focus now is e-commerce, SEO, and tech.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, I can relate to that. So I started straight from uni, wanted to be a journalist. I had no idea what that even meant, but I thought to myself, right, let's give this a go. Just kept seeing content writing positions out there. And off the back of that got into SEO. But yeah, I think it seems to be the common route. But even the most technical people I meet actually tend to get in from a content route. Makes sense though. They're kind of no longer content with the content side of things, but it's still handy to have that. Yeah, creativity still.
It's good. I think it's good. It's like a rite of passage. It's a bit old school. You get to touch every part of it, and then because I'm quite a thorough person, so I enjoy the concept of mastery. So it's always nice to look back and speak to people like, oh, yeah, don't worry about the links. The links are fine because, you spend some time building links or doing content and stuff. So it gives you that confidence that you feel like you know what you're speaking about.
Yeah, fair play. But tell us about the AI. AI is what we're here for, JP. And I think, some of the stuff you've been sharing lately is pretty cool. We've had conversations as well. And I think, we've been talking about tools and solutions. But yeah, talk to me about that and how that came about, to be fair.
Yeah. So the AI came about, I started using ChatGPT probably just a couple of months after it came out. So what was it, November 2022 or something like that. So maybe Feb or March, I believe, of 2023 was probably when I started using it. And at that point, it wasn't anything. People were just saying, it's this thing and you can speak to it. But outside of using AI in everyday work, I've always wanted to do a master's degree. So after I did my honors degree in marketing and branding, I've always wanted to do a master's degree. So I was going to do an MBA, and then at the last minute I changed to computer science. So it was like a carryover degree. And I originally did cybersecurity, and then I changed to specialization in AI. So I'm doing the AI degree in my master's. I'm going through the modules. We're learning stuff. It's programming, advanced programming. So we're starting in Java. And the course was not great. So I start going on to ChatGPT, and I start going online, and I'm on Stack Overflow, and I'm pasting a lot of my exercises to ChatGPT, and it starts giving me back the code. And I'm thinking, I had a light bulb moment, and I'm like, why am I doing this master's degree? I'm going to spend £9,000 or more. I'm going to be working 60-hour weeks with no revenue coming out of that, at least for 2.5 years, because it's literally just academia. And I was like, and here I'm putting my exercises into ChatGPT or this application, and it's literally writing code for me. And I think at that moment, I sort of just decided, I think I can learn more building things on my own than actually going through a curriculum that's probably about 3 to 4 years out of date. Nothing in that curriculum was about agents. There was nothing about MCPs. There was nothing about AI, basically all the stuff that's out there. So I just said, let's not go that route. I'm going to go this route. So my university has been LinkedIn, YouTube. I use a lot of data camp and just like everything like that. And since then, I've used it as I've basically seen it as the substitution to my degree. So I've used ChatGPT as a learning assistant, and I've used it to teach myself programming. I've learned new programming languages. I know JavaScript now, TypeScript, React, all these types of things. And that's literally is just, it allows you to do so much more and learn so much faster. And I use it to teach me. I don't like let it replace my work. So at least that's my ethos, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, fair play. Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, ultimately, it just further compounds the argument that ultimately it's just an extension of SEO, right? It's okay. We can call it multiple different things, but it's where we're going to be, right, when it comes to SEO in the next. And by that, what I mean is, just for clarity, I mean the fact that you are getting far more value from test and learn and teaching yourself and building things and breaking them and taking them apart. Exactly, that's how some of the best SEOs have got to where they are, right? Including so yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, because I was going to ask you if there was a particular project that was kind of the light bulb moment where you thought, you know what, but it sounds like that was it. So fair play. But I mean, based on that, how much has it changed your day to day in your job? Like, how much have you looked at that and gone, right, actually, you know what, I can really streamline what I'm doing as an SEO?
It's like having a intellectual life vest. It's always going to save you, right? So, even today, so this is an example. So I was playing around with BigQuery. Not used BigQuery a lot. I screenshot it, I put it in, I say, what's going on here? Can you help me? Couple of conversations later, this is where you are, this is what you need to do. And then just step by step, just do it. Now I'm writing SQL commands into BigQuery. We're pulling stuff out. We're going to start building reports and all that sort of stuff. My point being is, things I never knew or didn't know how to do, I can now do them, and I can literally build an application within an hour. So in terms of my day-to-day, because a lot of my day-to-day is also enabling my team, and enabling my team is saving their time or helping them do things faster. So I'm, building tools. If you need a tool built, whether it's Python or a web scraper, or it's like a metadata generator or an API call that can, write stuff for you, research stuff for you, it's literally just transformed everything because I just use it for that. I know that sounds cliche, but it just 10x's everything. Yeah.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I mean, a lot more agencies are doing this now. So I know it sounds like a really nice thing to say, but I also know many that aren't. Is that juniors from the ground up should be chucked into the deep end with AI from day one. I mean, everything you just referenced there, because there's a debate there that is AI going to replace junior SEOs? Well, no, I don't think so at all. Just it can make their life a hell of a lot easier, and arguably, will they progress even quicker because they're not bogged down with the day-to-day meta details. They're not bogged down with things that, let's be fair, like used to take us ages. I can remember spending a week on like a huge 1,000-row spreadsheet of metadata to be put in, right? So I mean that definitely hindered progression, but you don't realize at the time because you think you are progressing doing it. So
the day I built a metadata generator, it took keywords from Google Search Console, and then it basically followed a prompt and it ran on repeat down a Google Sheet and wrote a meta title and a meta description. And I remember processing it, and I processed like 5,000 pages. And just watching the pages get written, and I'm just watching these 5,000 pages get written, thinking this is going to change everything. Because my first job, I was writing meta descriptions and meta titles. I remember. 150 pages. That's your job. You're the junior. Go do it. So,
yeah, I remember that. I can remember putting together a landing page copy that had to be a certain density of keyword as well. Do you remember that? Crazy times, man. And there were tools that were built that so you could measure the density. God knows what they were based on. But fair play. All right, so without wanting to give away your secret sauce, because it's not what I want you to do, or unless you want it. But so one of the reasons I definitely wanted you on here was some of the cool tools that you've been discussing lately, things you've been doing on the side, but of course other things that potentially you might look to take on to become bigger projects. But yeah, anything you're willing to share, mate, love to hear it.
I'm happy to talk about it in detail. Obviously, I'll probably omit some parts, but I think the that aha moment I had was building like I call it a machine. I call it the content machine. And what it was capable of doing, it was capable of taking a list of influencers, of LinkedIn influencers, and it was able to scrape their profiles, scrape their posts, scrape the people that liked their posts as well. So then you could basically have a popularity indicator. So say I scraped 1,500 posts, I'd order them by the number of likes and engagements. And then you could basically start to build a database for what type of posts work and what posts don't work, what resonates with people. And then I could pass that through like a second prompting layer where I trained an AI to write like me. And then I basically said like, so it has a couple of things, it has like a classification. So it'll scan all the posts and we'll say, if this is a promotional post for this person's service or whatever, ignore it. And if it's not, and it's actually informational, and it's like a guide, then this is a post that we can consider. And that will get pushed into a second list. And then you could say like, rewrite it in this angle or write it like me. Basically use a prompt and an AI to do anything. And what you end up getting is your circle, your immediate circle, say on LinkedIn, if you wanted to build your influence, you basically get all the posts that are performing out there in the real world, but they're written in your own voice and stuff like that. Okay. So I never did this at scale because I do prefer to test, but I'm aware of people that have asked me for it and they were like, oh, can I have that code? Because I would just use that. And I didn't give it to them. But my point being is,
I bet they asked.
yeah, it took a long time to make, right? So, and then at first it was text, okay? And then came the images, right? So then you could build images through the chat, to the OpenAI API. But it wasn't the images that we're used to seeing. It wasn't the Ghibli style images when they did the massive image generation update. It was prior to that. So it was very basic clip art. It couldn't follow simple instructions. It couldn't put things on white background. So then I had to make another script in Python in Google Colab and send all my images to that script and remove the background using Python, okay? And then I had to like put it back into a post. So my point being is I built this entire machine that was capable of basically scraping anyone in the immediate vicinity's posts, rewriting them how I wanted them, creating any images that I wanted, and then send it straight to Figma and turn it into like a full-on post. And that's, for the type of people I've seen doing that online, people would have just done that amazingly. So for me, that was the aha moment. I was like, oh wow, like I've just created this big machine. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, you're going to be putting influencer agencies out of business, mate, to be fair.
Yeah, but so like that's not SEO. It's still marketing. It's personal branding. So then I was like thinking, well, what different types of things can we build here? So, I've done stuff like that. I've built scrapers. I still remember when I was in South Africa in December 2023, I went to go see my family. I was working remotely for 4 weeks. And I built a scraper over like 2 days. And I remember having like 15 terminal windows open up on my laptop and just watching them scrape all the data. So I was scraping like 346,000 rows and I got to like 50,000 rows. And I just thought, this is revolutionary. Like this has changed everything. And you gain confidence when you build these things and you learn how they work. You gain confidence. You learn how to speak to the AI. You learn how to build coding sessions. And it allows you to create and prototype really quick. Yeah. And that's what I use it for.
Fair play, man. And
any idea I have, you're able to bring it to life. It's really cool.
That's just tip of the iceberg. I know there's more as well, but we'll chat about that over a beer or something. But yeah, look, it's fair to say, right, there's a lot of noise at the moment. I mean, everyone feels like they need to put something about AI on LinkedIn. Everyone feels like they need to have a conversation around it. We've seen quite a lot of generic, arguably controversial talks as well. But what do you make of it at the moment? Like, what do you think are the real fundamental ways that AI is genuinely making SEO better? And I guess on the flip side, do you think there are cases where it's actually it's potentially detrimental for the industry? Yeah.
I think AI is making, well, it makes it better and worse, but I have some very, very basic principles around AI. I believe it's an enabler. It's a magnifier. Okay. So it's like a 10xer. So if you have someone who's like a spammer, it's going to make them 10x more spammy. Okay.
True.
It's just like, it's just amplifies what your intentions are. So in terms of good things, it allows people to work faster, allows them to automate tasks quicker, writing metadata. It allows people to do things they were never capable of doing and maybe free up their time if they take the time to learn how to do those things. In terms of how it's affecting SEO and the industry, I think as a result of that is people have leaned on it a bit too heavily for copy, because when it exploded, everyone just said, oh, it's just a copywriting tool. But I don't believe it is that. So I guess it's making it better because it helps people be better, but it makes it worse because now everyone is better. So the bar has been raised, and now you've got people that never knew how to code, and they're coming in there saying, oh, I built a machine learning, whatever the midget again, it does this and it does that. But, that data could be wrong. If you go through a lot of the code that AI writes, it injects test data into the actual script. It doesn't actually read from a data source if you don't know what you're doing. So if you don't query the code, you won't know. And it's also, and another thing that's affecting a lot of people is we have to be realistic and say that AI took everyone by storm, okay? Even the SEOs. So it came in and it basically was just like a bit of a tidal wave. And then a lot of SEOs went, oh no, but it's fine. Like I've got this thing so handled, I got it waxed after 4 weeks. And it's like, that's impossible. Like you can't just say that. Like it's clearly a lie because, we're having massive industries where it's medical, or anything really being overturned by AI. So now in the SEO space, we're actually having to learn how to deal with it. So the emergence of tools that you're seeing, SEMrush with the tracking the AI, Ahrefs with their branded AI tool. These are now solutions for the SEO industry, AI solutions for the SEO industry, and these have literally just come out. Okay, so it's good, and most importantly, it's introduced 4 more engines for top of funnel queries, which we never had before. So people say, oh, SEO is, it's destroying SEO, but it's not really, because it's actually added 3-4 more, top of funnel engines. The BOFU is only getting affected now because OpenAI has just signed with Shopify. They're enabling, agents to now go do checkout at BOFU. So that's where we'll see the impact now.
Yeah, fair play. Well, you just mentioned content, right? And actually something I would definitely wanted to touch upon was, I guess, how are you and your team approaching content then? Obviously, at a time when originality is definitely being called to question, and to be fair, rightly so. I think there are going to be multiple cases. I don't want to go as far as to say penalties. That's a bold claim. I think they're going to be, there's going to be big cases. I think there's going to be something high profile, I think, as almost like an example to be made. But yeah, anyway, how are you guys approaching that regards to originality, I guess?
So we at the agency don't write content, basically. We're not a content first agency. So it'd probably be remiss of me to say that we're doing it in this way. But that doesn't mean I've not explored it. So, for whether it's personal projects or I've been, privileged enough to learn of how like really big companies are using AI to write their content. And Andrew Holland as well is really good at this. So I think he'd probably be a good guest to have on the show. But AI is amazing as a research agent, i.e. tell me something, fill in the gaps for me, okay? Like, that's how you should be doing it in terms of the process of how I've done it in like private tests. It's not about, hey, AI is going to go write this whole thing. You need to build a systematic SOP, and it needs to be, concept, brief, research, strategy, write individual sections, then pass it to an editor that will edit it, and then have like a final overview. So actually you have about 7 to 8 different AI processes running systematically to get a final piece of output. And each one has a role, whether it's a researcher, a writer, a fact checker, whatever the case may be. So that's as much as I can say on the content generation for AI.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's talk about the technical then. So, I mean, you touched upon it earlier with a pretty cool influencer focused tool, but is there anything you're doing from a tech perspective, or have you just worked out ways to really streamline the way that you would audit, for example? Yeah.
So immediately what we did is we built a central hub in the office for my team, and we put all our scripts into it. So we came up with a bunch of cool scripts, like any API connectors, so the GSCs or the GAs. We did URL mapping scripts. Okay, so using like semantics, and basically, tasks that would have taken a team like a whole day or 2 days to do of mapping individual URLs, you can now just run it through a script and can just do it. We use it for a lot of classification for e-commerce products, basically product assignment, analyzing copy, basically pulling out like heuristics and that type of stuff for that sort of thing. We started automating our reporting, which is really, really illuminating, using LangChain, which is great. And we are improving upon that, because the first thing we realized, once again, if you put bad data in, you're going to get bad data out. So what's the first file we uploaded? The GSC export file, which is capped at 1,000 rows. Okay. So of course the AI is going to come up with a bad summary of the month's results, because it only can see 70% of the data. And it's these little things that make you realize and learn to understand it more. So anything that can be automated, we've tried and experimenting with and are experimenting with, hence the BigQuery comment earlier, because the data has to come from somewhere. So the biggest thing for me is like is context windows. You need to give the AI context, and you need to give it the right stuff in. It needs to be right stuff in and right stuff out. That's pretty much my premise after building these things.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, what's your view on... So there's been an argument for a long time now, or certainly conversations that I have, that a certain swathe of kind of juniors within our space, they're not necessarily given exposure to more of kind of the problem solving and the commercial issues that will serve them well as they progress in their career when they come up against. So do you envisage, say for example, would you think that particular generation of marketers more than ever are going to have to become problem solvers, right? Because AI, yes, is a tool in order to make life more efficient, but by the same token, exactly as you said, I mean, certainly I can remember, I'm sure you can remember as well, as a junior SEO, we would regularly pull reports from the standard tools that we all know and love, some of which have died, some of which we use today. But you shouldn't say it, but you could get away with not necessarily checking as much, because you would be fairly confident with the data to a degree, less so with AI, right? So yeah, that's something that needs to be instilled early
in the juniors.
Yeah
100%. I think a lot of the junior, I think we'll see a level of abstraction, if that makes sense. We're getting further and further away from the core of the data. It's like, the juniors now, or people maybe entering the industry, if GA4 launches an ability to query your own data, like a chatbot within GA4 or Google Analytics, the concept of learning to understand data is gone, right? And I remember speaking to my, sort of junior on my team, and I was like, I've just automated your reporting. Okay, I was like, this used to take me a week to do, and I was like, and I just pushed a button and I just wrote 25 reports. So I was like, you almost can't comprehend what it is we've had to go through to get here. I was like, but that worries me, because I'm scared you may miss something. I'm scared, you may miss the insights. When you add 100 categories to an e-commerce website and the impressions start to grow, but the clicks remain stable and the CTR dives, how do you explain that to a client when they're on the other end of the phone? They go, my click-through rate's shot. It's shot. Well, it's a logical formula. Impressions go up, clicks stay the same, click-through rate's going to go down. If you've never had to do that and you've never had to bake that into your thinking, you'll miss that, right? And it's these like really subtleties with data and stuff. That's why I'm saying it's a rite of passage. It's literally like, this is mastery. You pick these things up. There's never a moment in time, but it's just something you would have learned once upon a time and would just stay in your brain forever. So I think for the juniors, unless they make a concerted effort and aim for mastery and aim to learn, there is a very high risk of, I don't want to say laziness, because I feel that's sort of accusatory, but I think there's a very high risk of easiness maybe slip in. I don't know. It's easy to, it's easy to just type a message to a chatbot.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was getting at. I think I don't think I articulated it very well, but I think what I meant, just for clarity, I'm not saying we never used to check reports, but you know what I mean. I think we got to the point where the tools were pretty robust and they were pretty industry standard, and provided you could interpret the data and be able to, but with AI, there may be that inclination even more to just get overly confident as well. So yeah, just a thought really. I'm not saying I've seen it in action as such, but right, let's talk ethics and boundaries, right? So where do you personally draw the line? Because the thing is, there's temptation everywhere, right, to be as efficient as possible, get the maximum amount of work done. But where do you draw the line when it comes to AI and SEO? And where do you think the murky, the waters get that little bit murkier, as they always will in SEO, let's be fair, regardless of what we're talking about. But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I'm probably the wrong guy, because I just told you that I built a scraper that was scraping someone's website, but it's all in good fun. It's all experimental. So like I said, it's an enabler. So if someone's malicious, they'll be 10 times malicious.
True.
I have a philosophy that, life's an open book test. Everything you want to learn is probably out there. You just need to go out and find it. I'm 32 years old. I've lived most of my sort of conscious life this way, and I believe it. If I didn't, I probably wouldn't be where I am, because it's just how I think, and I like going out there and being resourceful and finding things. So if you say to me, it's wrong to scrape content off the internet, it's wrong to do this, it's wrong to do that. Well, it's actually possible, and it's very easy. Okay, so there's companies that exist that say don't do it. Should you impersonate other people? For me, in terms of my ethical standards, no, I don't think that's right. But that's, once again, because it's my own code. I believe in learning. I believe in mastery. So I will be proud of myself for going out and learning something and then writing about it. Or that content machine that I told you about earlier, where you could basically just like replicate all the influencers' content in your space. Yeah, if someone was lazy, they would do that. But for me, what I did is I actually used it, and I said, what are people writing about? And then I went and researched those topics, and I learned, and then I used my notes and their content to then write the content that I wanted. So I used it that way. More importantly, it's disguised people's ability, because you'll have people that are doing things, maybe it seems they have abilities they never had before, and they won't be honest about it, okay? Because no one wants to give up the golden goods. So now you're dealing with actors that you don't know what they're capable of, and they might be doing things behind your back and this and that. So the ethical concerns are huge. I think just find people that have the right morals around you, and you should be okay. So
Yeah, fair play. All right, so
the spam is unprecedented. To answer your question in a very simple way,
yeah.
I mean, if it was crazy before, if we used just to scrape the top 10 results of a Google search results and then rewrite it using Surfer, it's crazy now. It's just like 100 times more crazy. So
I can imagine. Yeah, I was just more interested. I guess what I was getting at was, what have you seen that's just completely out there? But all right, so look, in terms of, let's say, because there will be many SEOs, and we know there are. We see it on LinkedIn on a daily basis. Conversations I have where there are SEOs still a little bit fearful of AI, and they're not quite sure where to begin, and they're not really sure how to cut through the noise. So let's say if there was a starter pack, for want of a better way of putting it, right, where would you recommend somebody starts to keep it simple, sustainable, and to dip their toe in a way that what would you say were the top places to start, really, as an SEO?
for just like getting comfortable with the tools and getting comfortable with AI?
Yeah, ultimately just forget it, becoming more familiar, more confident with it, but I guess cutting through the noise as well, like actually solving real problems they're going to face, as opposed to shiny tool syndrome.
It's, for me, just about experimenting. There are people that are now creating courses on how to use AI. I know that Ian Nuttall is one of them. Mahir is another one, Mahir Naik. And they're creating these tools that are like, how do you use AI to build the things you want? How do you allow it to, let it 10x your stuff and stuff like that? But those are only coming out now. So for me, the path I went is just experimenting. Like, experiment with it in your own life. Ask it things. Speak to about it. Can you help me code this? What do you think of this? How can I make this better? Can you be an editor? Can you critique my writing style? Can you replicate my writing style? Just like ask it anything and everything, like just go crazy. And then you start to learn how to speak to it. You start to learn about the context. You learn about what it can remember, can't remember. So point being, if you want to learn about AI in general, just use it. Go on YouTube. And then you can also look at the free courses. I know a lot of people start releasing free courses, OpenAI, et cetera, and you can use that. But then there's what I'm learning, what I'm using it to do, which is, like building LangChain agents and stuff like that. The average person will need to do that. So if you want to use it, if you're a writer, just create the sickest writing assistant you can that literally writes like you. Stanley is one of those. I don't know if you've seen Stanley. Stanley's come out, created by those two guys. They actually came to London. The whole thing was like they come to London for like a fortnight, and it's amazing. And like it writes like you. So if you want to be a writer, be a 10 times better writer, 100 times better writer. If you want to be a coder, learn to be a 10 times better coder. Just explore your own interests, I think.
Yeah,
that's it really.
That makes sense. Right, I feel like you're the type of guy that automates his life in some way as well, if you can, certain areas, right? So are there any areas of your life outside of work that you've kind of looked at AI and gone, yeah, this will make life a lot easier?
Make life a lot easier.
No.
Yeah. I'm no word of a lie, right? On a Sunday, I go into my fridge, I take all the ingredients, I put them on the counter, I take a picture of them, and I go into ChatGPT. I speak to my ChatGPT. I don't do anything else. I said, hey, so this is what's in my fridge. It's going out of date. The blueberries are going out of date in 3 days, or whatever the case may be. Put together recipes for the whole week for me.
That is brilliant.
And then I say, this is what I want to achieve. I also want to let you know that I'm going to the gym and I'm on a cut. So it needs to be like respect the calories. And then it'll be like, okay, here's, 7 recipes for the day. And then I'll say, now you know what's in my fridge. I want you to subtract that from the ingredients that you suggested. And I want you to put together a shopping list for me that I can go buy. I'll head out to the Aldi. It'll take me 10 minutes. I come back, put everything together, and then I'll sit there with a ChatGPT and I'll just make all the recipes that it gave me. Literally, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
That is brilliant. To be fair, the only thing I've heard similar was so Sam Novos. He founded SEO agency Novos, and he's very regularly pushing to me that he can track his calories with it. So he'll take a picture of it and it adds it to his spreadsheet that he's created with his kind of calories. Which, to be fair, is still mind blowing to me. Like, and I know that that's just tip of the iceberg, right? Let's be fair.
Yeah. I love it. I use it to try to shortcut everything. I'm a bit of a time hacker, so anything that takes a lot of time, I'll try to use it to save time.
Yeah, well, I guess that is the question, isn't it? Will it make us lazier, or actually will it make us way more efficient and achieve more because we've saved time on some of the more remedial things? You can look at it either way, right? It's a bit of a Pandora's box.
It depends on the person. It just depends on how you like spending your free time, because you'll have more of it now. So you'll just need to find more creative ways to spend it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Listen, thank you so much. So these sort of within this series are always going to be between half an hour and 40 minutes. This has been perfect. But listen, thank you so much, mate. Really good to have you on, and look forward to catching up again. Anyway, I think we're due to catch up in the next couple of weeks anyway. But yeah, I'd love to have you on again as well. So I want to hear more about these experimentations, including the fridge, mate. I want to hear more about that, and I might actually go home and have a look. I don't think mine's full enough for that, though. I think it's quite full in there.
A bit of mustard and old celery in your fridge.
What can you do with out of date bread and mustard? Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, listen,
no worries, mate. Appreciate you having me. It's nice to chat about this stuff.
Yeah, likewise. Cheers, buddy.
All right. Cheers, mate.
Speak soon. Bye.